Hello again, everyone. This is FilibusterFox, and there are my cooling towers. Took quite a long time to finish this off, but they are done now. Goodbye, cows. We're going to go ahead and have a look here. See, they should be identical in every way. I probably made a mistake here and there. Like, there's this one block right here that... No, oh, there's... Okay, let's do that then. That should match it up. That looks better. There we go. Alright, so yeah, there's probably a mistake here or there, but for the most part, they should be virtually identical. Now, I did a little bit of research on nuclear reactors and power plants and how they work and everything. These cooling towers are designed to let out steam from... missing block. They're designed to let out steam from the cooling process, where they run water over the heated areas and basically let the steam escape through the sky. That way the water doesn't go back into the river or lake or what have you hot and harm the wildlife therein. Okay. Yeah, those missing blocks are due to server lag, like it doesn't pick up the block I placed and such like that. It's the cost of running a server on the same computer you're actually playing it on and not having a dedicated system for it. Alright, so those are done. Now the next step for these is to build the actual reactor itself. I originally thought about putting the reactor inside the cooling towers, but that's not going to work because that's not how reactors work. So I've learned some things about how nuclear reactors work in Minecraft, or in Tekkit anyways. And what we're going to do is we're going to set out 4 separate reactors here. 2 of them will be connected to each cooling tower with little waterways. So, it's just going to be a lot easier if I go ahead and start placing the blocks. Now, for this, I'm going to need a reinforced stone and possibly reinforced glass. Not really sure where those are going to be. Maybe easier just to swap over. Yeah, let's turn off creative mode. Here we go. Now, reinforced stone and glass have blast protection of 150, which is second only to bedrock and some other things. And reinforced door. Get some of those going as well. Alright, reinforced door is the same. Now, obviously, if you create just a structure, the reinforced door is going to be weakness because it is as protective as the wall around it, and you need the wall around it to be 3 thick, like so. To actually block, like if the reactor is here, then it needs to be 3 thick to actually block the blast and protect everything else. So as a result, with a setup like this, say I completely surround the reactor in 3 thick blocks, this door is going to be a structural weakness. It's only going to stop 1/3 of the blast, so it'll continue outward here. So what I'm going to have to do is probably set up a like an airlock sort of thing. I've got it 3 thick there. Like so. And then extra doors. So with this, I do not believe the blast will continue out through the second set of doors since it's turning a corner there. I don't think that's how it works, but I may set up an extra layer of protection just in case. Or alternately just have double doors like that and get in that way. However I'm going to do it, I need 3 blocks thick of the reinforced material. So what I'm first going to do is I'm going to protect downward. And I'm going to lay out some dirt here and measure out the distance. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Alright, so this way should be similar. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Alright, so if that was 25, then there's one directly in between, which works out fine. All right, so what we'll do is, let's see, well, I want it further to the back so I can have the control room and such to the front. So we'll set up, we'll start the area here. So go up 3 on each side, just an arbitrary number there. And we'll dig down. Up. There we go. Now, I'm not exactly sure how much space I'm going to need for each reactor area. So, I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 by 10, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This should be a space that's plenty large for each reactor. Maybe overly so. I was conceptualizing it a little smaller in my head here. Okay. So I'll have a quick look at this, and then we're about to go to a time lapse as soon as I map out the spaces itself. There we go. Off by 1. Sort this all out. There we go. Alright, so each reactor can be housed in... What I'll do is I'll border it with reinforced stone, like so. And we'll see if this is a good amount of space. That looks like the perfect amount of space. Looks like I conceptualized just right with the 8 by 10. I'm going to stop using that word now. Conceptualized? Is that even a word? I believe it's a word. I think it's a word. Sounds like a word. I'm going to go with it being indeed a word. Alright, so those are 2 of our reactors. What I'll do is I'll set up the other 2 on the other side, since that was a lot of space. 2, 3. 2, 3. There we go. Alright, now I'm going to switch into a time-lapse mode here and accelerate the construction and kind of talk over it as I review this in post. Alright, so here we are in the accelerated mode here, just time-lapsing our way through this construction process. This was a very long process that I went through, so in fact the majority of the rest of the video is time-lapsed, which prior to the cuts and everything like that, this was about a 3-hour video, so enjoy the very, very shortened version of it instead of the long one I had to sit through to do all of this. Anyways, that point aside, so what I'm doing now is I'm just setting out the depressions for each of the different reactors to go in. Each one is going to need plenty of reinforced stone around it and reinforced glass above it. The glass above it lets me look down in to make sure everything's fine, although most of it will be controlled remotely via computer in the control room. I'm going to set up a lot of wireless systems that will link up to thermal monitors, such like that, to check on the status of the reactors and automatically adjust things as needed. Hopefully I'll be able to set it up to all be automated by the computer, and you can just wander in and have a look at what's going on through the windows. But, so I'm just laying out a foundation here, about 7 deep into this hole. There's going to be 4 layers from that first one I laid up in the top there, and that is going to be the reactor chamber itself. The 3 layers below that, to finish off the 7 layers deep, is actually going to be thick, pure, reinforced stone, which is going to help prevent any blast damage from going downwards. So if it explodes, I'm not going to have a giant crater under my nuclear power plant. Everything should more or less be intact in the world, at least below from this setup that I'm building here. The only way that a nuclear reactor is really going to punch through 3 layers of reinforced stone is if you've got multiple exploding at the same time, blasting through it, in which case that requires me to be very careful. Now, I've skipped ahead here. After finishing the first one, I went ahead and jumped to the 4th one here to show the process and a much faster thing, since it's basically just me laying out the outline of one thick reinforced stone around the chamber and then 3 below it. Filling in the holes I made, and there we have the completed works. Now I've given myself a destruction catalyst to clear out the adjoining areas to create the sidewalls to be 4 thick. And that way it'll have that extra layer of protection just in case anything goes seriously bad and that blast protection from 3 thick isn't thick enough. Well, I'll have 4 on every side with which to prevent damage to, in particular, those cooling towers that I spent so much time on, but anything else that I build. We do not want a giant crater to be left where the city should be, so we're going to go extra protective here, going all the way down to the 3 thick base and extending it out to 4 tiles. Bit of a process. The destruction catalyst sped it up quite a bit because it let me knock out 3 blocks at a time instead of 1. Even though creative mode is fast, this is faster still. In hindsight, I may have been okay getting a mining laser and punching through as well, but either way, it's all set up. So I flattened out the bottom, and here I am laying the 3 by 7 layer of reinforced stone to go around the chamber itself. This will protect virtually any situation except upwards from the blast if they were inside those chambers. Now there's that little 2 thick barrier between the 2 chambers, and at the end of this circle around I'm going to fill those in with reinforced stone, so there's a wall 4 thick between the 2 reactors. So in the event that one should go off, it should not take the others with it, unless it manages to damage some of the remote controls, the wireless off switches. Hopefully I'll be able to set it up that if one reactor does explode, that I run an automatic shutdown of all reactors, and they remain shut down until the situation can be assessed personally, and not by the computer. So I'll try and set a fail-safe if there's damage to any of the systems that they all turn off. I don't know how I'm going to do that. We'll figure that out later when I start getting into the computer crafting stuff. But right now I'm just setting up the groundwork and the foundation. It's going to be a very, very thick foundation. Once again, hindsight's 20/20. I probably should just used a filler to clear the area and a filler to fill the area. It would have saved me a lot of time personally, but it's all done now, so no problem there. So I'm about to finish off the side here, and when I do, I'm just going to cut ahead and get to the end of the second side after I finish up the middle section here. We'll jump ahead to the middle section on the other side, and I'll have already completed all the sides. You don't have to watch me just run around in circles placing blocks again. Now that you've seen the process once, that should be fine. Feel free, if any of my cinematic cutting is problematic, feel free to let me know. Still working on a way to get an external cam. I will hopefully be able to do that, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to, at least until I get my new computer. And here we go, jumping ahead to the next one about now. And this is just me finishing off the middle. Until I can set up a second computer as a camera, I'm going to look around and see if there's a program that will do it for free, but we'll see what happens. Alright, so now that I've completed the foundation and the barriers, I've got to worry about the top. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set a layer of stone to get the right depth that I need. I want each reactor is going to be about 3 high, and I want a space above and below for water. So it's going to be 6 thick, and then I'm going to have that 7th layer with the reinforced glass. And that glass is going to end up being 3 thick, so it also prevents the blast upwardly. The only weak point in this design is going to be the corners, and there's some potential for trouble there unless I set up a appropriate protection, since it will travel diagonally as well. So I need 3 thick corners. Now with this extra reinforcement I'm putting around the sides, everything is going to be very, very well secured. You'll see when I get to the finished product that the corners may still have some integrity weaknesses, but I'm going to have an outer wall that will prevent anything, even if it does explode inward and take out all 4 reactors. There should be no damage to the rest of the world. So I'm just taking up the walls here, making sure it's at least 3 to 4 thick on every side of the reactor in every direction. Once again, the glass is going to be the weakest point. It's got the same blast resistance as the stone, but I'm only going to have it 3 thick on top instead of 4 thick as it is on the sides. So I'm still filling in the sides here. Not a whole lot to see while this finishes up. But very shortly I'm going to be building the outer walls and the reinforced glass extensions. Now the amount of power that this plant should generate will be, frankly, rather obscene. Each reactor is going to generate about the same as 4 high voltage solar arrays, which, while noticeably safer, are ridiculously expensive to build. I probably will add a solar array thing as well, but there's going to be so much power running through this that it will be difficult to do anything with it, really. I'll just have infinite power, which will be important since I'm going to have an MFSU on each telephone pole for transferring the power. It's every 40 blocks it loses power, which actually isn't that needing for the MFSUs everywhere. So I might cut back on the number of MFSUs, spread them out a little more, since just 1 EU per 40 blocks is not going to be a huge deal when I'm pumping 512 through each line. And then, let's see. So I'm building up the outer wall now, and it's at 1 thick right now, but that's just because I'm gauging how tall I want the building to be. Since each reactor is going to have the 3 blocks of glass above it, I want to kind of eyeball how tall it's going to need to be, and then have lighting on the ceiling that will light up the majority of the building with lamps. No torches, anything like that. You don't want to open flame in the middle of a nuclear reactor. That's not good. Chicken kind of got in there, so that's rather adventurous chicken exploring the nuclear power plant as it's being built up. So here I go, placing out the 3 high glass, and I believe that it's a fairly fast process here. It's really simple. And make sure I actually got it at 3 because it's a little weird because it goes transparent. Chicken gets in the way, so he gets a little glass to the face. And just got to finish off this little protection. So now, with the exception of the top corners, this will give complete blast protection in the event of a nuclear blast. Now, I'm still going to have to create holes for power and water to run through. Well, I don't technically have to create holes for water, and I may not. I'm still kind of undecided on that. It will be dependent on, of course, how the protections I can set up are and how much effort I'm willing to put in to create these extra holes. I may just have power exits and, of course, for the controls, which should mostly actually be wirelessly, so I can shove those inside the chamber. Chambers will, of course, be filled with water, so you will have that extra cooling benefit. So ideally, when I get it all set up, nothing should ever explode on me. It should be completely safe and with infinite power, and automatically refill the uranium cells, everything like that, be handled by the computer. And if it overheats, I'll have a thermal detector and just go ahead and deal with it. So I'm experimenting with the roof right now. I got it to a height that I think I'm happy with. I don't want it too tall because then the lamps won't be effective on the ceiling. So I'm just extending out the walls to be the 3 thick around all sides here. So even if it does escape the reactor chamber itself, it's not going to escape the main building, the containment. That's what it's called, the containment. Outside of the containment, there should be a vestibule, which is just going to be an empty area with another thick wall outside. That's not going to have quite as much blast protection, probably. It'll be more aesthetically pleasing. So you're not going to see this ugly black structure from the distance. It's actually going to have an outer area called a vestibule, and it's going to be surrounded probably with, I might use marble. I haven't decided yet. We'll experiment with a few things as it goes and see what looks good and what works. So it's going to be a building around this, basically. And then I'm going to set up the control room, which will have the computers and the remote redstone controls, so they can be shut down as needed, and the program should be designed to maintain core integrity for all the reactors. It's going to be a little complex to set up, and it should be fun when we get to that part, but that's a ways down the line. I'm going to set up the main architecture before getting anywhere near putting the power plants in. I'll probably go work on some of the cities even before I do that, because I don't want to have to set up the world anchor and maintain the cooling system while I'm just messing around laying out roads and stuff. Speaking of roads, I'm going to need some ideas on what all needs to be in the city. Ideally, I'm going to have something for each Tekkit thing. Like I need a mass fabrication building, and I need, such like that. So give some suggestions for buildings that you'll want to see in the town. I will take from those probably and put them in. Obviously, I'll need houses and a hotel and such like that, and a perimeter to keep the monsters out, street lights for the roads, stuff like that. It'll all be taken care of. So I'm almost finished putting on the roof here, and I've got that one thick outer wall above it, because above this inner roof is going to be a too tall maintenance area where I can maintain the lights, run my redstone wiring and such like that, and have access from a smaller area above, which is going to be basically the maintenance room, or basically the control room in there, just because. And then it'll all be accessed through the vestibule, either through reactor chambers or the maintenance hatch in the control room above, depending on how I end up splitting it up. So now it's time for me to experiment with the lighting. I had a couple ideas here with white, red, and green lamps. I kind of thought green might be good because it gives that kind of irradiated feel. Green is kind of a nuclear thought. Red kind of signifies alarm. I was thinking about setting up a double thing, maybe with green regular lights and red emergency lights that will automatically start flashing when there is a heat issue. So if a reactor starts to overheat, the red lights will start flashing, and maybe set up a howler alarm or something that will go off alongside to alert everyone to the fact that, hey, you either need to fix the reactor or get the hell out of Dodge. So I set up a bunch of red lights to see how they would look, and I decided to do the last one in green to see how that would look, compare them. Unfortunately, the lighting wasn't that great to experiment with that. Not only did I mess it up, but the ambient light was too much, so I decided to go ahead and put in the dividing wall that I was designing for earlier. Each chamber is going to be in a self-contained room, and there's going to be an accessed hallway between them. So I started setting up these walls here to basically isolate the lights so I could see the difference between the red and the green and see what I thought. Unfortunately, however, I was not too confident on my personal opinion on this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you guys what you prefer, the red or the green lights. I'm going to slow it down here shortly and show you the difference between the two. And I'm actually going to add some more lights to the room because they're really dark and moody, despite the lighting setup I've got is temporary. Do not be worried by the fact that these corner lights look absolutely terrible. They're just there to provide more lighting and kind of give the coloristic style to the room between the red and the green, which also happen to be Christmassy colors, so it kind of works out based on the timing of this video. Maybe I'll build a Christmas tree for the town next, just because it's that time of year. Alright, so here I am looking at the two separate rooms. There you go. That was my little personal marker, so I knew when to slow down the video. And here we go. Looking at the red room, this is what it looks like. Going over to the green room here. What the green room looks like. I think I personally lean a little more towards the green and setting up the red as emergency lights. And then, or maybe a combination of the two, but that'll look really Christmassy. Now, one problem is the reactor's got virtually no light getting down into it from those lamps, so I'm going to need some light so I can see the reactor when I come by. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just break through the glass and throw down some reactor lamps, maybe in the sides. Maybe I'll mismatch, if I use red lights, maybe I'll stick green down in the reactor to make it look kind of irradiated, or if I've got green above, maybe I'll stick a red or something like that. We'll kind of figure it out. So it's really dark down here. I tried to put some redstone torches out to see better, but that didn't help. So I'm just going to go ahead and throw down the lamps. Alright, so that's my basic idea. Nice and perfectly centered here. Two deep hole in there. The inner one being the redstone torches and the outer one being the lamps themselves. Now this does weaken the structural integrity of the structure, but I made the walls 4 thick, and even with 2 cut out, the damage outside of the chamber should be extraordinarily minor. So, even a 1 thick wall of this stuff helps prevent a lot of the damage from a nuclear blast. Now, I didn't necessarily like the immediately connected, so I tried putting reinforced glass here to have recessed lights, since this chamber will be filled with water after all. But I'm not sure which I actually like better. I'm leaning towards the glass one, but it's a little difficult to say, so that's something else I want to hear back on. What color scheme should I use for the lamps, and should I use reset lighting in there, or should I use exposed lighting for the water-filled reactor chambers? So I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback on that. We're about at the end of the video here. This has been FilibusterFox finishing up this nuclear reactor here. Well, not quite finishing, but almost half done, I'd say. And building my Tekkit town. Thank you for watching. Please post your feedback, like, dislike, whatever you prefer. Favorite the video. Anything you can do to get